In this vid, I'll be reviewing mexicanpikachu31's version of Reshiram Emboar. It's a little different than your typical Reshiram. He's got a few other techs like Cincinno and Cincinno to throw people off a bit, so let's take a closer look.
There's not a starter for this deck, no Cleffas, Mantines, Manamphes, Tyrogues, so I would suggest looking through your collection and seeing what you have and throwing in something that you would ideally like to start off with. Something to help you get set up, like Manamphe to shuffle your hand in and draw some more cards, something like Stantler to put some basics on your bench. Just depends on what you have in your collection. So when I looked at this deck, I immediately thought Reshiram. We run one Reshiram and two of the non-ability Emboar. But once you go through the list, you realize that the Reshiram is really just a tech, and there's a lot of other things that this deck relies on. The ability Emboar, though, is, I would say, the star of the deck, because it's going to be able to attach fire energy and power up everything in this deck. He also runs one of the other Emboar to be able to do some significant damage with Flare Blitz. The only bad part is that he has to discard all of his fire energy, but I think with a few retrievals and fishermen, we can easily get those back. A common tech that we've been seeing is Zoroark. Its attack Foul Play allows you to copy one of the defending Pokemon's attacks, and therefore can be used in a variety of situations. Another tech he throws in that's a little bit different, though, is Cincinno. Do the Wave does 20 times the number of your bench Pokemon, and he runs quite a few different ones, so it's likely that he's going to have a full bench every turn. Ability Emboar doesn't restrict the type of Pokemon that it attaches its energy to, so Ability Emboar can easily attach a couple fire energy to Cincinno in one turn and have it fully powered and ready to go. While I really like the 2-2 line of Cincinno, I think you can increase your 2-1 line of Zoroark to a 2-2 line just to make it a little more consistent. Another different thing about this deck is that he runs Simisear. This is the first deck that I reviewed that's run this card. Flame Burst does 20 to 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon, and Fury Swipes does 40 times the number of 3 coin flips. Again, I really don't like this card because it's flippy. Fury Swipes, there's a good chance that you could toss 3 tails. That means this attack isn't going to do anything. And Flame Burst, while sniping is good, it's really not ideal, and with Pokemon Catcher coming out, you shouldn't have a hard time attacking your opponent's bench. So I would recommend dropping this line completely, and maybe increasing your Reshirams, and making some room for some starter Pokemon. Another different card in this deck is Unknown Flash. When you place Unknown Flash from your hand to the bench, you can look at the top 5 cards of your deck and rearrange them in any order that you like and put them back in. I don't think this is a very strong card. This would be better if Pokedex was still legal. The Pokedex allowed you to look at the top 2 cards of your deck, choose one, and then put the other one on the bottom, because that could help you get set up. But we just don't have very many cards in the format that are going to just allow you to draw a couple cards, and because most of them are having you shuffle in your entire hand. So I think this is another card that you can just drop and see if you can make some of your other lines a lot stronger. Taking a look at your energy line, you run 8 Fire and 4 Rainbow. Since Zoroark is the only card that requires any different energy type, assuming that you decide to drop the Unknown, I think you can go ahead and drop the 4 Rainbow and make them all Fire. What I don't like about Rainbow is that you end up doing 10 damage to yourself, and that 10 damage can be the game for you. While Nasty Plot is a great attack, when I run it, I don't find myself using it very often, and I think it'd be more consistent if all of those were fire energy, so you can just go ahead and attach them all with Ability Emboar. So now let's take a look at your trainers and supporters. At the moment, you're only running one collector. I'd really like to see at least 3 cards that can search out basics, so if you don't have any more collector, throwing in a couple dual ball will work out just fine. I really like having 3 cards in the deck that can search for basics, because you can always turn around and swap them back out with Pokemon Communication for the evolution card that you need. Right now you're running 4 Communication, and I think you could drop that down to 3. You have 2 cards in your deck for hand refreshers, 3 Professor Oak's New Theory, and 2 Juniper. I really like these numbers, although 2 Juniper can be a little bit risky, but I would hope that you wouldn't be using both Juniper in a game unless you absolutely needed it late game. Ideally, I like to see 1 Juniper in a deck, and 3 to 4 Professor Oak's New Theory, or a combination of other hand refreshers, but I think you got the right idea so far. You've got a great start on your recovery cards. You run 3 Energy Retrieval, which is going to be extremely useful when you're using Flare Blitz, because you're discarding all the fire energy attached to Emboar. You're running 3 Revive, which I think you can decrease down to 1, maybe 2, and I would only go up to 2 if you're deciding to run more Reshiram. It's only useful for bringing basic cards back from the discard pile, which is why I would also recommend that you throw in 1 Flower Shop. You can always use your Revives and Junk Arms to get your Revives back, to get your basic Pokemon back out, and use the Flower Shop to get your Evolutions back out as well. Flower Shop also can get some of those basic energy cards back into your deck so you could possibly draw into them. You also run 1 Fisherman, which puts 4 energy cards back into your hand, but also counts as the supporter for your turn. I think keeping just 1 Fisherman in, having 1 Flower Shop, 2 or 3 energy retrieval, and 1 to 2 revives would be excellent for your recovery. I would drop the 2 energy search because you're running 12 energy as it is, and if you feel like you're having a hard time drawing into those energies, I would swap them out for an interviewer's question. Maybe just 1, but 2 if you're really having a hard time pulling those energy. You run 1 switch and 1 plus power, which I think are good numbers, because you just never know when you might need either one of them, but being that they're very situational cards, I wouldn't run any more than that. I would recommend throwing in 1 Twins, just in case you're behind early in the game and you need to catch up a bit. And I would definitely recommend that you throw in 1, if not 2, Rare Candy to help you get those Emboars out. Right now you're running 2 Ability Emboar and 1 Non. Might be a good idea if you have them to run 2 of each, and that way you can utilize your Rare Candies a little more. I would also recommend throwing in 2, if not 3 Junk Arm. That'll allow you to reuse your Switch, Plus Power, Rare Candy, Communication, Energy Retrieval. It just has so many purposes. I really think Junk Arm should be in every deck. So in order to make room for all those new additions, I think you could easily drop the 2 Potion, and like I said, I think you could drop those 2 Energy Search as well, and reduce your line of communication. Those are all the suggestions that I have. I really like that this isn't your typical Reshiram deck. While I'm not a fan of the Simisear or the Unknown Flash, I think the Cincinno is a really cool tech, and you'll be using that quite a bit. So if you'd like your deck reviewed, just PM me the list, and let me know if you'd like a video review, which will take at least 2 weeks to do, or a deck review, which I can turn around in a couple of days.